Hey, Monday Night Football picks and a Week 2 recap. It's the FTN Fantasy Schatz and Tanier NFL podcast. I'm Aaron Schatz from FTN Fantasy. He's Mike Tanier. You find him at miketanier.substack.com. We are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. So first, let's tell you about Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play fantasy sports and the fastest growing app in the fantasy industry. Underdog is now offering a new customer FTN special with up to $1,000 on your first-time deposit. The Underdog app is so easy to use. Weekly contests are all back, including the onside kick, the double doink, and the 2-minute drill. Head over to Underdog for a deposit match up to $1,000 when you sign up with code FTN. Up to $1,000 extra, code FTN. NFL season is here, and who better to celebrate with than Underdog Fantasy? So an interesting week 2 in the NFL with a number of upsets, which did not include the Cincinnati Bengals over the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
There's some evidence that the Chiefs were slightly outplayed by the Bengals on a play-by-play basis. I know that the Bengals had a slightly higher DVOA. The Kevin Cole's adjusted scores had the Bengals higher. The Chiefs somehow have a minus 1.3% DVOA on the season. Now, that's without opponent adjustments. But that's their DVOA on the season. But they've beaten 2 conference rivals 2 weeks in a row, and their schedule gets easier from here. Are they inevitable?
Like Thanos, they are inevitable. And I think they are to a degree, although if you look at them compared to the Bills right now and say, take the magic away, who would win a Chiefs-Bills game? It looks like the Bills would roll. That's the impression I get. But Chiefs get a win. They get a fumble recovery return touchdown, which kind of was a lightning strike. They hold the Bengals to the field goal a couple of times when the Bengals could have punched it in. And then you get the, what Bengals fans are howling about the officiating late in the game. But you have, Jamar Chase cussing out a referee. He gets a penalty. That leads to a stalled drive, leads to a field goal instead possibly a touchdown with the game away. And then the end of the game, that was pass interference against, I forget the defender covering Ray Rice. He tried to run through him. You gave, and that was like, 4th and forever.
Yeah, it was like 4th and 19 or something. Yeah.
4th and 19. Play the ball in any way. Don't just run through the receiver. You can probably get a stop there. It would have been a very difficult catch for Rice, and the game's over. But guy interferes. Give Mahomes a chance this happens.
And Pacheco now apparently has a broken leg.
Ooh.
So he will go on IR, which makes Carson Steele effectively their starting running back, along with Samaje Perine.
Yes.
And yet, Atlanta, the Chargers, we'll get to the Saints in a little bit. 49ers, the schedule's not that easy for the next few games. I think it gets easier later on.
I think it gets easier later on because you've got all those divisional opponents, and you can look at the Broncos, and they're not going to put up much of a fight. Raiders and Chargers are coming off some wins, but they're just station-to-station teams, frankly. I think they got to do something at running back, though. I know Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the non-football injury list. I don't know if you're going to be able to get anything from him this year. Perine's kind of a number 3 guy, a plotter. Seal is a fullback type, like a power guy. They got to go get their Jerick McKinnon, whoever they can find out there.
Well, Perine is a good receiver, so he kind of is their Jerick McKinnon. What they need is the runner. They need the Pacheco, and that's not as easy to find.
Yeah, Perine's more like the outlet guy. He's not shifty in any way.
Yeah.
He can block. He'll catch the outlet pass. Maybe he'll drag a tackler, et cetera. Somebody who can go out there in space and create, and that's what they don't have right now.
A reminder, we'll take your questions and comments if you're watching on YouTube. We're on at 11 a.m. Eastern on Mondays and Thursdays. I know in the Too Deep Zone at your Substack today, you talked about that you feel the Bills have played better than the Chiefs so far. The Bills are higher in DVOA. The Bills are 6th in DVOA so far, again, without opponent adjustments. And I think we have no idea how good Arizona is.
That's right.
No idea. After these 2 games, I have no idea how good Arizona really is.
Right. They might be pretty good.
Right. Or they might have just taken advantage of a Rams team that had a ridiculous number of injuries on offense. I don't know. Right. But how do you feel about that? The Bills being better than the Chiefs so far?
It feels that way. Now, partly, I kind of just discounted the first quarter of game 1 against the Cardinals. as teams come out flat in the first quarter. We see that a lot. Again, the Cardinals are obviously not patsies. I think we can definitely say that. And then the Bills, kind of from the second quarter of that game on, have been steamrolling. They had complete control of that Dolphins game before the Tua injury. They were just absolutely dominating that Dolphins team. And, I hate the whole, well, you don't need a number one wide receiver or you don't. Right now, there is proof of concept that you can have Shakir as sort of a possession guy. You can have Kincaid as kind of a possession guy. These other guys kind of just playing these roles. And, yeah, when your offensive line great, your defense is great, your quarterback is Superman, you're going to be fine with that. And that's what the Bills look like right now.
Yeah. How good are the New Orleans Saints?
You tell me. You put something on the internet about.
DVOA thinks they're amazing so far. Again, no opponent adjustments yet. But I will say, as far as opponent adjustments go, I think we're both in agreement that it is likely that Dallas is a good team.
Yes.
That over the course of the whole season, Dallas will be a good team. So, they beat up on Carolina, but Dallas is a good team. The Saints have the 4th highest DVOA ever after week 2. They are not only number 1 on offense by a lot.
Yes.
But they are number 3 on defense and above average on special teams. Wow. Here are the teams historically that are higher than the Saints this year. Okay. The 81 Bills, who finished 10-6.
Okay.
2005 Steelers, who won the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl team, okay.
And the 2019 Patriots, who were driven by defense and fell apart at the end of the year and then lost to the Titans in the first round of the playoffs. Right behind them are the 96 Packers and the 2007 Patriots.
96 Packers reached the Super Bowl, right?
Super Bowl team, right.
Super Bowl 2007 Patriots are the 2007 Patriots.
So the fact is, to start this good, even if you don't adjust for opponent, none of the teams that started anywhere near this good won fewer than 8 games.
Okay.
Even the ones that collapsed after their hot starts finished 8-8.
Right.
So the Saints are very likely kind of for real. Like, not even like, they're almost too real for me to take a victory lap on because I never said they were going to be this good. I mean,
right. Right. Well, I mean, you take your lap on because what's actionable? You said take the over.
I said take the over and to win the division. Yep.
Win the division. Yes. And the over looks like it's going to be a no-brainer at this point because you're going to start counting up the wins against the weaker opponents. And the division looks good, although, obviously the Falcons played.
Tampa Bay is 2-0.
Tampa Bay is 2-0, although they don't look nearly as good. All the reasons for skepticism that you would normally have for a 2-0 team, you cannot find them with the Saints right now. They steamroller the Cowboys. They are extremely balanced on offense. If you have not done so, spool up some video, whether it's all 22 or just a game tape. Watch Clint Kubiak's offense right now. You will fall in love with Taysom Hill again. You will fall in love with Alvin Kamara again. You will fall in love with two-back offense. With guys, with Shaheed in the backfield in motion all over the place. It is fun to watch. It is confusing opponents, and it's getting the most out of the personnel that team has.
Yeah, they are playing really well. And my guess is the defense will not be – there's no reason to believe the defense will be this good for the long term.
Right.
I think that you're seeing a lot of the effect of they played Carolina, and Carolina is horrible.
Yes.
And Dallas fell so far behind that they had to stretch.
That was it.
But the offense, there's reason to believe. The new coordinator means there's reason to believe that they're going to be a lot better this year.
Right. And they can play complementary football because it is a ball control offense with big play capability, so they can keep the defense within itself. It was a big win. Adebo, the cornerback, played well. They were without Lattimore. They were playing extremely well early in the game before it got out of hand, and once it got out of hand, it was silly.
Yeah. What was your most surprise? Well, Red Matt wants to know if getting Clint Kubiak was the low-key move of the offseason. Clearly, the answer is yes.
Yeah. I thought he was just going to be a clone of his dad and a clone of all those other guys. I didn't see this really new approach. Again, the stuff they're doing with two backs and rotating who the two backs are and what they're doing with the guy who's lined up at fullback. It's new. It's old because it's like 1977 stuff, but it's new to the NFL right now. And it's a very pleasant surprise.
What was your most surprising upset of the weekend?
Well, I was focused on that Vikings upset of the 49ers. And I guess my first take on it is, okay, 49ers, Monday night win, go on the road. You get a flat opponent sometimes. You get a flat opponent. The flip side of that is I think that the Vikings played better than the final score. I think that it was that game, in the second half of that game, it's almost like the world was trying to revolve around the 49ers getting a win. They're muffing punts and then they're recovering their own muffs. All these other things like this are happening. And that game had the potential to be a rout if Justin Jefferson doesn't get hurt in the game, if there isn't a little bit of sort of fumble luck / penalty luck / I don't know what to call it, that kind of goes in the 49ers' favor in the second half. Very resilient, very enlightening win for the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I don't know what to take away from it because I don't know. I can't put them in the playoffs or something, but it was still remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, another team that the projections had is higher than conventional wisdom, the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Like people argued with us that we had the Vikings higher than the Bears, and I think at least after 2 games, that looks good.
Yeah. Yes.
49ers maybe missed McCaffrey more than you thought that they would, certainly more than they showed in week 1.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not too concerned with the 49ers in the long term.
No. The 49ers take a loss. The Cowboys take a loss. The Lions take a loss. We got the Eagles tonight. I don't think they'll take a loss, but they got the Saints next week, so gosh only knows how that's going to go. Again, you can look at this and the ebb and flow of things. I guess Mason is a really good back. That's fine. It's different when you're in control of the game and you can stick him in a 2-back behind a fullback and let him just like pound the ball versus whether you have to stay in the structure of your offense and be creative. And now you don't have McCaffrey there to be that extra weapon for Purdy. Also, Flores called a really good game on defense.
Yeah, Red Matt says the Flores scheme is a nightmare. And apparently after the game, Darnold went to Flores and said, your scheme has really confused me.
That's great. And Darnold also said that he recognized some of the coverages. Again, he played for 49ers. He was their backup quarterback all of last year. He said, I practiced against those guys, so I kind of knew it was coming. Now you can't change your defensive philosophy because your old backup quarterback is playing the other team. But it was a little bit of a Darnold leveraged a little bit of an advantage there, it sounds like.
We should also talk a little bit about you mentioned to me also the Lions and the Buccaneers.
Yes.
The Lions losing to the Buccaneers. The Lions had the higher DVOA in the game, but there was some clock mismanagement at the end of the first half that Dan Campbell took responsibility for, where they ended up getting a 12-men on the field penalty when they were trying to spike the ball and didn't get a field goal off. And I don't know. Yeah. The Lions lost a game. Maybe Tampa Bay's better than we thought, but I know Mayfield didn't have very good numbers.
Mayfield had a couple of really good throws. He got sacked, I think, 6 or 7 times, 5 times by Aiden Hutchinson. They did not have a solution there. The Lions were, I believe, 1 of 7 in red zone conversions. It was tough. That situation you talked about was there. There were some turnovers in the red zone. I didn't look at them and say they have a coherent system in the red zone. I look at the Lions and they should be like, oh, you're at the 15-yard line. Just run that Cro-Magnon overtime against the Rams, 2 tight end attack and just slam the ball home. And they were getting cute. Goff had an interception. Late in the game, it's a 4-point game. So they keep getting opportunities, but you can't kick a field goal, so they miss. Weird game. I think it was a resilient effort by the Buccaneers. But again, I don't worry that much about the Lions. And I can't put the Buccaneers certainly ahead of the Saints right now. The Saints were dominant. The Buccaneers were getting beat, and they won.
My most surprising upset was Las Vegas 26, Baltimore 23.
That was a mess.
Now, I'm not going to say I watched a lot of this game, but I did watch some of it in the middle of halftime of the Patriots game, and it looked like the Ravens could not protect Jackson, and when they couldn't get anybody open. I know Zay Flowers did have a good game, but they're definitely having problems with their other wide receivers. Bateman hasn't done much this year. I think that I really underestimated how much the offensive line was going to be a problem. The Ravens had the higher DVOA in this game.
Oh, yeah.
But then they had special teams problems. Tucker missed another 50-yard field goal. Stout had a 24-yard punt. Andrew says Vegas gave up on the run and Adams took over. Yeah, Zamir White has been horrible this year for the Raiders. But Adams had a big game.
And so did your guy, Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers had a big game, yes.
Rookie tight end.
Tight end with a big game. It does happen every so often.
It does happen every so often. The Ravens were in complete control of this game at halftime and only led 9-6. They were dominating this game in the first half and only led 9-6. Then it looked like they had opportunities to put this game away. Now, you didn't see all of it, so I'm going to give you a trivia question now. It's 3rd and inches, a first down, probably seals the game midway through the fourth quarter. 3rd and inches. You are the Baltimore Ravens. Aaron, what do you do?
Sneak with Jackson.
You going to sneak with Jackson?
Yeah.
What about Derrick Henry?
Derrick Henry would be great too.
Okay, now what if I told you tush push with Isaiah Likely getting a direct snap?
I don't understand why you would do that.
Now, would you be shocked if the result was a false start?
No.
Well, that's what happened. They got a false start because they're in this hinky formation. They're not using Henry. I don't know if Jackson was on the field. False start, 3rd and 6. They punt. That puts the and then all kinds of other stuff happens.
The Patriots also got a penalty when they tried a weird formation with an unbalanced line. You practice your weird formations, people. Like, make sure you got them down. Don't mess them up.
Yes, practice them and maybe don't overcomplicate things. Earlier in the game, one of the touchdowns, Henry takes a direct snap with Jackson lined up like away on the sideline. He just bulldozes everybody. So, yeah. And also, it's a non-quarterback with the cadence when it's likely.
Yep.
That's false starts can often lead to an unfamiliar voice in your ear. Anyway, that happens. Adams goes ham. They have 3rd and goal from like the 20-something yard line. It's pass interference. Ugly performance by the Ravens. And it is problematic because, again, their offensive line is not very good and their receivers are Aguilar.
And Andrew says the Bears brought in Mercedes Lewis for one play, and he also got a false start. I hope that was not at quarterback.
That's Mercedes Lewis Jr., right? That can't be the same guy. That's his kid. Like, that's 21-year-old undrafted.
Mercedes Lewis has really been around forever. The Ravens, see, the thing is, we'll get to DVOA in a second. Their DVOA is good.
Yeah.
And yet they're 0-2.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. Like, getting back to the playoffs is a problem when you start 0-2 and you're in a good division where the Steelers are somehow 2-0. I mean, like, it's looking, I mean, I still have some faith in them to get back to the playoffs, but I certainly don't feel comfortable about the idea that I had them as my Super Bowl pick in the AFC at this point.
Right. And again, the offensive line, it looked like they had the solutions there. I look at Bateman, I look at Aguilar, and the fact that Flowers is a screen and underneath type of guy, and say, how are you going to get the ball downfield consistently? And they have to scheme everything up to get the ball downfield, and it's wearing a little bit thin.
So we'll count up the top 10 in DVOA here. One thing I'm going to mention is the DVOAs are all slightly high because I don't know what to do about field goals. The field goals this year are so much better than any other year ever. Like, I'm like, do I really change all the values to make a 55-yard field goal near automatic, or is this going to go back to normal? Like, I don't know what to do. So for now, like, the special teams values are all a little extra high because they don't average at 0 because the field goals have been so good this year.
So many 58, 59-yarders, automatic. Sunday night, Cammy Fairbairn, a bunch of deep ones. Yeah, unbelievable.
I think you see the effect here of some of these teams that had slightly higher DVOAs despite losing, because number 10 is Detroit.
Yeah, they played well.
And number 9 is Baltimore.
They played well up and down the court and lost.
Which Andrew points out their next 3 games go Cowboys, Bills, Bengals.
Oh, my God.
That's not good.
That's not good.
If they come 1-2 out of that, which is very likely, and they start 1-4.
1-4.
That's tough to climb out of. Although with the 17-game season, it's easier to climb out of, and there's 7 playoff teams now, and et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Going on.
Pittsburgh is 8th.
Quick, the defense offense splits have to be insane for Pittsburgh.
And also, again, no opponent adjustments yet. Denver is terrible. Denver's offense is terrible.
Yes. Yeah.
Arizona is 7th. Big game this week.
It's just destroyed the Rams. Yeah, okay.
Buffalo is 6th.
Wow.
Houston is 5th.
They did not look good last night.
Minnesota is 4th.
All right.
Chargers is 3rd with the Panthers asterisk on it. Seattle is surprisingly second.
How?
They had a higher DVOA than the Patriots by more than you would expect for this week's game.
That's because the Patriots passing DVOA has to be negative -1 million.
And then week 1, Seattle won 26-20 over Denver. So opponent adjustments, I'm surprised that there's that high. They have been better. The first game also, their DVOA was much better than Denver's, despite the close score. But there was the weirdness with the safeties and everything. And then number 1, very, very easily, is the New Orleans Saints.
The juggernaut. The absolute
juggernaut so far.
Yeah.
Carolina at minus 80% is the 9th worst team ever at 0-2.
Wow. With
the 7th worst offense.
Believable. I was watching that this morning. It's painful.
Are you at pull Bryce Young point at this point?
Pull him. It's over. It's not
almost
happening.
Like the problem is you can't even figure out what the rest of your team is because he's so bad. So it's not like you're suddenly going to be a winning team with Andy Dalton at quarterback, but maybe you can at least figure out what to build around if you have Andy Dalton at quarterback.
Yeah, you get a sense of how whether your offensive line is mediocre to bad or bad to terrible. You get a sense of whether Leggett is ever going to be a player. If Sanders, this tight end, is ever going to be a player, if Mingo is ever going to be a player, because right now the ball is just never getting to anybody more than 5 yards downfield.
And Hitchhiker's Pie says, imagine thinking Andy Dalton is going to improve our offense dramatically, and yet, doesn't it feel like that's the case?
Yes. I mean, I know you guys in the Discord, I don't know how much Panthers you actually watch, and maybe you're looking at the box score or whatever. You got to see it to understand it. I don't give up on second-year quarterbacks on like their 15th start or whatever. I don't do that. I've given up on Bryce Young. It's over. He's not an NFL player. It's over.
Let's talk about Monday Night Football. Falcons at Eagles. The line is minus 5.5 with a total of 46. My formulas come out then with a line of minus 5.5 and a total of 46.
Wow.
So it's not a good one to be gambling on the main lines of this game tonight.
Absolutely.
And I do feel that the Eagles are better than the Falcons, even though I was down on the Eagles comparatively in the preseason compared to other folks. I still was higher. I was also down on the Falcons compared to other folks. And what we saw in the first week with the Kirk Cousins not being able to move, even without A.J. Brown, I feel pretty good about the Eagles in this one.
Yeah, and Eagles fans relax. I know A.J. Brown is out. You know what we call a team with lots of playmakers that falls apart because one of them gets hurt? We call that team the 49ers. Okay, Eagles fans, this is different. Little trolling here. But 5.5 points, you know my rules about the Falcons and get betting. If they can figure out a way of losing by 5.5 tonight, they will, to make everything a push.
You do have a good prop bet, though.
I have a prop bet. I looked around a little bit. And, of course, Brown is out, which means the ball's going to have to get spread around a little bit more. Saquon Barkley at 25-plus receiving yards, which could be one really good screen or two. And what was the juice on that? It was
plus 140, you said.
Plus 140. So good juice on that. You can just sit there and wait for the screen, wait for the swing pass. Maybe he's in the slot a little bit. Get it. You could be rolling it in by halftime.
And I'll point out the Falcons last year were 31st in DVOA against running backs as receivers, which makes that Saquon Barkley bet look even better.
Yes.
The Falcons were much stronger last year against passes up the middle, and they're probably even better this year with Simmons and Bates as the safeties, which is fine because if Hurts wants to avoid the middle, then that's fine.
He always does. He always wants to avoid the middle. Perfect.
So this is a good game to do that.
Nice.
Red Matt wants to know: does Hurts have a history of checking the ball to backs?
No. But this.
No, I think they'll design plays for Saquon.
Yeah, they'll design plays. That's what it would be scripted. There wasn't a lot. It's a totally different offense. Keep in mind, it's now Kellen Moore's offense. It was very rare to have. I mean, most of the short stuff was to receivers in the previous offense. But again, Barkley could be in the slot. You got a different system.
The Falcons last year were. The Eagles last year were 29th against tight ends.
Really?
So perhaps Kyle Pitts can have a good night.
Perhaps. Okay. Do you have a prop for it?
No, I don't have a prop written down. I should have done that. That was
You
my
should have
mistake.
got it. I could look one up, but I'm not going to get it in time.
No, but I like the Saquon one. That's the one I want to play. It's the Saquon Barkley one.
Beautiful. I love it.
But we both feel like Eagles win, but we wouldn't gamble on this line. And don't gamble on the Falcons. Just don't
never
ever
bet on the Falcons. And yeah, 5.5. That's right in the wheelhouse, especially with them at home, where it's like, the Eagles win by 4, and you're like,
all right.
As a gambler, as a fan.
Yeah. All right, that does it for the Monday show, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're listening to this as a podcast after the fact, of course, like and subscribe. Do the same thing to the YouTube, please. We're here every Monday and Thursday at 11 a.m. We'll be back Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern to preview Week 3. Everybody enjoy Monday Night Football, and we will talk to you later. So long, everyone.